Hey everybody, welcome back to another Fast Fishing episode. Today, no props, no gimmicks, just going to talk to you about something that I like to do that helps me be a better year-round fisherman, and that's keeping a diary. So let's get to it. Okay, so there's a few things that I always write down on every trip. Number one is going to be the weather. You need to note whether or not the weather is hot, cold, rainy, sunny, cloudy, anything like that. You need to write it down. Write down what the high temperature was. Write down what your morning temperature was. Get that all in your book because that could play into another day in the same year, or it could play into what you're going to do the next year around the same time. The next thing is you got to write down your water temperatures. Again, this may vary from the morning to the afternoon, so write down your highs and your lows and where you found them. If you were back in a river arm or back in the back of a slough or a bay and you saw that the water temperature was a little bit higher, which it can be, then you should really write that down. The next thing you want to write down and keep in that diary is the water clarity, whether or not it was cloudy, visible to 10 feet or 1 foot of visibility, or for heavy stain. All those things, again, they're going to play a factor into the baits you were using that day and how they react with the fish under the water. Now, another thing that I always write down is the baits that I used and what I caught, fish on. So if I'm throwing a jig and I'm catching a jig and I'm using a black and blue jig because the water clarity was stained, I want to write all that down. Now, some of this is going to become just repetitive information, and you're going to be like, okay, the water's stained, it was a hot day, the fish were deep, I'm going to use a black and blue jig. Okay, that's a given, but writing it down will help put it in your brain and remember kind of set it in that longer term memory. And then the other thing I like to write, and sometimes I'll even use like Google Maps and drop pins on different spots, is where I actually caught fish and then tie that to the bait. Fish number 1, fish number 2, fish number 3, things like that. That way I know, okay, this is where the fish were that time of year with these weather conditions, this water temperature, and everything else. So if you do all those things, the next year when you get out in a similar situation, you can refer back to that diary and go, hey, I went fishing, last October, and the water was pretty clear. It wasn't very windy. Same conditions I'm going to have tomorrow. What did I use and where did I go? What kind of fish did I catch? Maybe you only caught small fish, so you want to try some different spots to look for that upgrade. But it still will help you to at least, in a starting spot for where you're going to go throughout the day. Hey, I hope you guys are enjoying these fast fishing videos. I really enjoy doing them. Stay tuned next week for another episode, and have fun out there on the water. Be safe, and keep all these folks in Northern California on your mind. As they battle these fires and everything, it's pretty horrific up here. So just be thinking about them, and we'll see you next episode.